Hi, welcome to the review for A Course of Love, Chapter 4, which is called Love's Equity. It's an interesting title choice for this chapter because while it doesn't directly address in the bulk of it, it's there, but most of it isn't about saying love is fair, love is fair. It really looks at what we have done in this world of illusion as we have defined love and shows how we have used it to enforce our specialness, which of course is the opposite of equity. So let's take a look. We start with verse 1, very beginning. Do you have to love God to know what love is? When you love purely, you know God whether you realize it or not. What does it mean to love purely? It means to love for love's sake, to simply love, to have no false idols. Before I do a commentary on it, let's go ahead with the question, what is a false idol? And the answer is, a false idol is what you think love will get you. So that if you're loving because you want security, you want a sense of belonging because it makes you feel better about yourself, gives you self-esteem, it makes you feel special, makes you feel safer. If those are the reasons you are looking for love, that is not loving purely. So the first question, do you have to love God to know what love is? Understand that this course does not look at God as being a person or as having a personality. So just kind of let that fade away. Because the answer is when you love purely, when you love just with that energy of love that is, you know God while you're doing that. The energy of God. Some hints there. So he goes on to say that longing, that deep longing to be loved, that really runs this world, that runs everybody in it. Everything we do is because we want to be loved. And that longing is our proof of love's existence. Otherwise, why would we want something that was unattainable? I mean, what would be the point? It is also a longing for self, the self with a capital S, who you really are. In verse 5, all fear ends when proof of your existence is established. All fear is based on your inability to recognize love, and thus who you are and who God is. Okay, so when we are identifying ourselves incorrectly, and we think we are this small little personal self, blown around in this insane world, of course there's going to be fear. That is a position that is always going to change. There's always going to be threat. When we think that that's what we're about, we're going to be afraid. When we move to the space where we're able to recognize love, what it really is, instead of what we tried to turn it into, then we recognize who we really are and who God really is. It's all kind of a package deal. Child of God, you are alien here, meaning in this world of illusion, but need not be alien to yourself. So you can still exist in the world of illusion. You can still have your experience here and yet be in touch with who you actually are. In your knowledge of yourself, all threat of time and space and place dissolve. Imagine not feeling any threats anymore, not feeling fear. Recognize who you are, and God's light goes before you, illuminating every path and shining away the fog of dreams from which you waken undisturbed. That one shift, that one recognition of like, oh, I'm not that, I'm this. That's the entire goal of this first book of A Course of Love. Love alone has the power to turn this dream of death into a waking awareness of life eternal. Your mind doesn't have that power. The mind's been trying to do that and no success there. There's only one thing that has the power to awaken us to eternal life, actual life, what's really going on here, and that's love. So if you need more convincing, we keep. Now we're taking a look at what we have called love, what we have thought of as love. You think being in love, so now we're talking about romantic love, and I'm reading the caption below the photo here. You think being in love is about passion and an overflow of feelings that defy common sense. Love makes you most special of all, at least to the other person. And that is probably one of the places where we actually touch on something that feels real. Doesn't last, that kind of passion, but it feels really good. And he will tell us later on that the reason why it feels so good is because there's an element of truth in it. But, you know, as we have done with most things that are true, we've put our own little spin on it, so that it's misrepresenting what it actually is. Verse 10, your thoughts have reviewed again and again all the pain that love has brought. It dwells on those occasions when love has failed because it does not recognize that love cannot fail. So your thoughts, which are of the mind, which is the mental process, reminds you of how, yeah, I loved that person and I ended up getting hurt really badly. And that didn't work out for me. So no, I don't want to do that again. I better leave my fences up. So that statement of you recognize that love has failed, you don't recognize love can't fail, doesn't seem to fit your experience. But if we move forward into verse 11, it's your expectations and false perceptions of your brothers and sisters are what have caused you to believe that love can fail or be lost, withdrawn, or turned to hate. Your false perception of your father is what has caused all other perceptions to be false, including the one you hold of your own self. Okay, so now this is a package right here about how our expectations and our false perceptions have caused us to think that love failed us. But we have put expectations on love that are so much less, so much more limited, and so unreal. And we will be shown how that is true. You'll see that. Then he goes on to say that you've also perceived who and what your father is, what the creator is, incorrectly. And that has set up the whole dynamic where all the perceptions are off, including your perception of yourself. So that's the basis right there, is that we think God is something other than what God is. Now going back to how we have interpreted love within our illusory world. Love is not being nice when you don't feel like it. In fact, it's not being nice at all. It's not doing good deeds or being charitable. It's not acting selflessly, sacrificing. It's not about blind devotion to another. I will devote myself to you if you will devote yourself to me. It's not about forced kindness. It's not about any of those things. We've thought that's what it was, but that's not what it's about. Now, verses 16 through 19 have just these golden nuggets of ideas. And of course, I'm not going to read them all, but I've pulled one verse, one line or two from each of those verses that sum this up. And I'm just going to read straight through them. You thus believe love is a choice, something to be given to some and not to others. You hope to be a winner in this game you play, a chosen one who will have each ounce of love given, returned in kind. So it's kind of like a cross your fingers and hope that whatever you give comes back to you, because you're giving something precious and you want to get that back in return. Life is not fair, nor meant to be, you claim. But love is something else. We expect love to be fair. We expect to receive what we give. And if we don't, we will withdraw our love and move on down the road. Love is seen as personal, something another gives in a special way to you alone, and you to him or her. It's very exclusive. It's so exclusive that we have ceremonies that, declare to the world, this is the one person I have chosen to give my love to, and they in exchange are going to give theirs to me. And we're going to bind ourselves together because this is a safe place for us to experience love. That's the ultimate in specialness. Verse 19. Even you who do not recognize what love is, protect what you call love from the illusions you have made. So even though we really don't understand what love actually is, we still know that it's precious. We still know that it's the most valuable thing there is out there, and we try to protect it from the crazy, insane world, at least as best we can. Those who are lucky have found a safe place to retire from a world of madness, hoping to always find love behind its doors. Boy, that's the American dream, isn't it? Well, it's not just American. The idea of finding someone to love, building a family, having a safe place where you can relax and love and be loved. That's what we are all trying for. Others think it's selfish to turn their backs upon a suffering world to enjoy the sanctuary they have made for themselves. So other people think, why are you off enjoying your sanctuary when there are people starving in Africa, and shame on you for being so selfish. But everybody agrees that love isn't like anything else that's happening here. Everybody from start to finish knows that love is a different thing than the rest of what's going on. So after really looking at how we view love within our crazy world, we're told in verse 24 that love cannot be brought to a world of madness, nor the world of madness brought to love. But love can allow a new world to be seen, a world that will allow you to abide within love's presence. So in other words, you can't learn what love is and get a piece of it and start practicing within the world that you're perceiving. In order to really get what love is about, a shift in perception has to happen so that we actually see the world differently. The whole world, not just our little home where it's safe to love, not just our little piece of it, but the world is seen differently. And as that is seen, something entirely different goes down. Now here's a huge pointer to what love actually is. He tells us it's a joining within that will lead to the joining of the world and showing love to the world. It's a joining within that will lead to your recognition of what love is as you join your brothers and sisters in truth. In other words, not just pretending, not trying, but actually experiencing it. This is not a metaphor or a nice sentiment. It takes place within you. So this shift from seeing love as we thought it was to seeing love as it actually is a joining that takes place within you. Not something we do on the outside, but something that happens on the inside. And the last sentiment of this chapter in verse 26, this joining is the goal you seek, the only goal worthy of love's call. We're going to talk a lot about joining in the chapters that come, but there is the basic idea of what's going to bring you out of the house of illusion and into a world of truth. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you in chapter 5.